This is Dr. Rick Wallace. I want to take just a moment to bring an update to the current situation that's going on with the investigation into the arrest and death of Sandra Bland. I can say now, as more evidence comes into focus and we get an understanding of who this young lady was, that there are some things that we really need to look at. First and foremost, let's talk about the dash cam video. What the dash cam video first proves is that the initial release, which the DPS is attributing to some sort of technical glitch, obviously was questionable, being that the latest video is 3 minutes. That's supposed to be the full dash cam video, is 3 minutes shorter than the one that was originally released. But that brings some things into question. But I don't want this particular segment to be anything close to anything about sensationalizing what's going on or theorizing what's going on. I want to sort of focus on some facts here. One of the reasons that I don't have a whole bunch of people visiting my YouTube page, I don't have a whole bunch of followers, is I tend not to sensationalize. I don't jump on every trending thing and go in becoming a conspiracy theorist. I tend to address issues from the perspective of truth, and because my credibility is extremely important to me, and sometimes it doesn't provide the feeling of engagement or hostility that most people are looking for. That conflict that's necessary to stir people isn't really there. And I came on pretty strong when this first started, and my feelings were based on growing up in Houston, very near Waller, and spending a lot of time up there during my college years at U of H, partying in Prairie View. Just knowing the culture up there, it wasn't difficult for me to believe that something bad happened to her. I know the culture there. And I stated very strongly that I did not believe that she killed herself, and I believe she was murdered. And I was attacked by mostly white people for making that statement, and I am not really concerned about what white people think about me in the first place, so I'm not even going to address that. But what I will address is that I think we need to look at some things. That video footage showed an overzealous police officer who felt challenged by an African American female. It also showed that he knew she was African American before he pulled her over, because he actually was going the opposite direction and saw her turn, so he saw who was in the car. So this wasn't a blind stop. This was someone who knew they were pulling over an African American. What did that play a role in it? That again would call for me to make a conjecture and hypothesize, and I don't want to do that, but we need to take that into consideration when we're looking at this. Next, we need to look at the fact that, yes, she was very vocal in her displeasure, but it seems all of the whole issue doesn't come from the traffic stop, because she says, "Give it to me, let me sign so I can go." It comes from the fact that when he asked her if she's irritated, or she seems irritated, and she responded in the affirmative, he didn't like that. It was almost one of those parent things that we deal with, where you tell your kid, basically, not only are you going to do what I say do, but you're going to like it. The very fact that you're showing displeasure in what's happening here doesn't sit well with me. So I have an issue with what the police officer did. But here's an issue that I think that we need to take a look at as a black community. I personally, at this particular point, feel we failed Sandra Bland, and here's how. Several months ago, she posted a video expressing that she was struggling with depression and PTSD. Not only that, from what I'm hearing now, and there's some evidence or in the medical examiner's report, that there was probably some self-harm going on. In other words, there was some cutting. And in the way that it looks, it's over a period of time of cutting, healing, which is typical for people who practice self-harm. Having worked in the area of behavior, I know what that's like and what that's literally doing. So when I sit up and I have all these people who say they knew her, and there was no signs of any type of behavior that would be indicative of her possibly committing suicide, there were signs. but because of the way that we in the black community view those possibilities, we want to sweep that under the rug. We want to deal with that. Plus, those who see this as an opportunity to engage the enemy want to sensationalize what's going on here, and the possibility of just the possibility of her actually having committed suicide doesn't set well for that prospect. But me personally, I'm about engaging truth. The way that we're going to rise as a people is first by dealing with the truth, or having the truth presented, engaging the truth, and then responding to the truth. Not by all of the false accusations, not by all of the sensationalism, but by understanding not so much what the enemy on the outside is doing, but what the enemy on the inside is doing. It's the enemy on the inside that's causing a great deal of the situations we had. The enemy on the outside could not come against us if we were more economically solidified. The enemy on the outside could not come against us if we were more unified in dealing with each other in a social environment. The enemy on the outside couldn't come against us if the family structure in the black community was more solidified. The enemy on the outside couldn't come against us if we weren't so psychologically vulnerable. And we don't want to deal with these type of issues. Am I giving a pass to the way that things went down, the way the officer dealt with things, the way that there may be some lapses and when they checked on this young lady? No. What I'm saying is I see, based on the information, some new releases of a voicemail she called and left a friend where she was basically expressing, how she felt, and you can feel that she was dejected in the tone of her voice. You can feel that her spirit had been drained because of the tone of her voice. And she was becoming increasingly frustrated with the fact that she was trying to reach people and she couldn't get in contact with anyone. I think she finally got her sister, and her sister said she was going to work on getting out. Let me tell you something. We encouraged this young lady. Every time she posted something that was hostile to the system or expressed her discontent with police brutality, we patted her on the back. We encouraged her. We made her vocal. We made her outspoken. We gave her a platform. But what happened is, when she really needed us, she's making phone calls and nobody is there. Nobody's responding. Now, I'm concerned about how we're doing this thing. It seems nobody knows, or nobody knew just how lonely and this person was. She suffered, and unfortunately it seems like she suffered in silence. My thing is, we need to hold the fire to Waller County, DPS, and everybody involved for the role that they played in initiating this process and whatever role they played in her death. But we also need to take a close inventory of who we are as a people, how we are engaging depression and other mental disorders in our community. It's time to stop sweeping them under the rug. It's time to start embracing and working on us. This is where we will determine how we fare in the future. Peace.